Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Crypto Scene Investigation, where we have a look at different cryptocurrency projects and we ask ourselves, I think, are we worth investing in? Today is a special video, a little CSI exclusive, where we are going to be having a look at some of the tools which you can use to identify whether or not something is going to, pull the rug from underneath your feet. So anyway, let's get into it. Remember, anything I say during this video is not to be considered as financial advice and should only be used for educational, inspirational, and entertainment purposes. If you like what I do on this channel, please consider liking and subscribing, and also have a Patreon, but I'll talk about that at the end. Yeah, and cool, let's jump into it. If you want to comment, please be kind in the comments is my personal request. Trying to really create a healthy community here where, we encourage truth and we... talk about projects. Cool. So let's start with our first one. So bsccheck.eu, great website, pretty much in almost every single one of my videos, unless of course it is a coin which is not on the Binance Smart Chain, the Ethereum Smart Chain, and the Matic/Polygon Smart Chain. Now, if it is not on any of those, then generally we would skip past BSC Check. But it's really cool, this website. So as you can see, they've got a little warning, which is, so this isn't like 100% guaranteed, but they can tell some cool things. So usually they'll go all the way from, so if we actually have a look at some of the other new tests which they've done, so usually I think the bottom is like scam, and then you go from scam to risky to warning. And then I don't actually know what is above that. I feel like I have seen it before. I think it might say like okay or something. I can't quite remember. But today our sort of coin which we're going to be using is Ether or Aether. Still don't know how it's pronounced just yet. And I do intend to do a video on it, but we'll see. So this one, so it says, so we can find out the honeypot stat. So usually most of the time the buy and sell tax is often 0%. The fact that it is over 10% is usually not a good sign. But remember, but it does depend on the coin. So you do have to do more research on top of these things if you actually want to get a better insight. So we can see the token owner as well. So we can see who the contract owner is, and as you can see, or there is actually, so you can open that. You can actually have a look on BSC Scan, which is another wonderful source to actually see what is actually going on the actual blockchain itself. And then they can also say who some of the dev wallets are, which is good. And then they also talk about who some of the top holders are, which you can also open their addresses as well. And they also go into some of the liquidity pool details. And for this one, it says that it has 99% burned or locked, which is good. Now, here is a bit of a conflictive step with that, right? So. This next website is Token Sniffer. Token Sniffer is also pretty much in every single one of my videos, but one reason why Token Sniffer I think is a little bit better is because when you copy and paste the token contract or what have you up into here, then it pretty much can do the whole token sniffing thing with any token, which is good. But one problem with it is that, let's say if I typed in something like, I don't know, let's type in Dogecoin or what have you, then you'll get a whole bunch of different sort of things. So it's best to not use it as an actual search function in that sort of way, and to always actually find the contract address and be able to sort of copy and paste into there for that sort of jazz. So as we can see with this one, so this one's gotten a 16 out of 100, which is very low, because usually, so 100 out of 100 is like the safest as heck, but this is 16 out of 100, which means that yeah. So opposite to what BSC Check has told us, Token Sniffer says, so it has buy and sell fee of more than 10%. So remember, so they see this as a bad thing, but depending on the project, this can be an okay thing as well. Judging by the sort of briefness that I have seen from this project, yeah, I won't go into it, but it looks pretty okay for why they do that. But anyway, so they have some other things as well. So verified contract source, that's cool. So no prior similar token contracts. This detail here is, I'm not really that scared, to be honest. Oh, by the way, this is also telling you whether or not it's like a honeypot, just like briefly, similar to this one. So pretty much almost all of these links up here tell you whether or not it is going to be a honeypot or not. Yeah, so no prior similar token contracts. That sort of thing is more for so for most projects which I personally look at, because they're super low market cap and because they may, let's say, be a fork, or they may be, I guess, copying a similar, like copying other similar contracts. This is usually an X. So this one, I'm not too concerned about the actual X itself when it comes to this jazz, because yeah, so that's why they add here, clone contracts may indicate a low quality token unless there exists an offering other than the token itself. So if you do want to invest into a token, it is best to, which has a prior similar token contract, then it's definitely best to do it in something which you actually have, which has a bit more use case. So let's say it could be like a game, or it could be a game. Yeah, or something else, of course, or it's like got like a special finance or DeFi protocol or something. Cool. So then you've also got source does not contain a max transaction amount. Now this one I don't often see an X for, but it says the source code does not the source code contains a function which can set a maximum transaction amount honeypot risk. Yeah, so that's interesting. That probably says its thing for itself. Source does not contain a fee modifier, which, I mean, we have seen a fee modifier. So the source code contains a function which can modify the transaction fee. So which means, actually, I have heard of a project, and I can't remember which project it was, but what they did is that they, like, they were sort of bragging and sort of talking about how they could, how people really wanted to, sell their tokens and stuff, because originally it sort of came across as like a honeypot or what have you, and people were, like saying to the devs, "Come on, guys, let us sell our tokens," and then the devs were like, "Yeah, we'll let you sell your tokens," and then they made the transaction fee like 96% or something crazy. So judging by the looks of this, so that means that these guys here could possibly do something similar as well. Because of that. So remember, this is just a random project, so I'm not trying to like bag on these guys or anything. I'm just using this as an example. So yeah, so that could possibly be a concern, because that can be controlled. Now this is something which, this is probably one of the biggest deals when it comes to some of the stats which we can see here, and this is also on BSC check as well, which we can see here, which is owner not renounced. So what that means is that the contract owner, the person who deployed / made the contract, they can then go and pretty much change how, I guess, the contract behaves, right? They can go and change like the function or how it sort of works. So there is a problem with that, because it means that they can pretty much, so because this one has got all of these X's along here, so because they can go and change the fee, they can go and change the max transaction amount, and yeah, it's just, that's a bit concerning, because that has the potential to be a honeypot risk in that regards. Holder analysis, so this is usually fine. I do often see this as an X as well, so this is a tick on here, but often this is an X from the ones which I usually see, and it says all other holders possess less than 5% of the token supply. So usually if, let's say, so when you have a look on something like BSC scan, for instance, and then you have a look at the holders underneath here, if, let's say, it's over 5%, then that's sort of what it's kind of going to be warning you about here. And yeah, so I often see that as a red X, and then if it is a red X, then something which you can do is, as I say, come back to BSC check, and you can have a look here to maybe find out whether or not they may be div wallets. They don't always say that, and they'll also probably tell you whether or not the top holders may be of concern or not. So yeah, so owner / created wallet contains less than 5%, so it talks a little bit about that, and it says token burns is 30%, so you can click on view holders and all the jazz, which I probably should just click there instead of doing it the long way, but anyway. Cool. So also there are similar things as well, like you've got Etherscan, and there's like Polyscan and Solana's, which is like SoulScan or something. I'm pretty sure it's that. So then you've got adequate, so they also can talk about the liquidity which is present on here. Now something which I find interesting is that the liquidity on token sniffer is often different to the liquidity that it shows on BSC check. Now because BSC check, I'm gonna be honest, I don't actually know which one is a bit more safe in terms of that sort of jazz. So it does say liquidities here. It says 703, which is quite a lot, to be honest. 703 BNB, by the way, which is currently worth like 200 something thousand, 500 something thousand. I don't actually know. But yeah, so it's quite a lot. So it says adequate liquidity present, and because of this particular project, this is something just to think about for you guys. So this is, I believe, only on PancakeSwap, and now there's a reason why I mentioned that is because when it comes to the actual liquidity present, if let's say it's on like something like Poo Coin or Binance or Coinbase or like Crypto.com, I guess. So when it's on some of the more well-known exchanges, what happens is this liquidity becomes less concerning in my point of view. Although it's still important, it's much more concerning how much liquidity is available if it is on something like a swap, like PancakeSwap, or if it's Sunday Swap, or what's the other one? Sushi Swap, and there's Uniswap. Gosh, couldn't think of the name. So yeah, so it says at least 95% of liquidity burn / lock. So here it says 0.01%. However, once again, when we look on the BSC check, so it says burned. So it says 0% there, but here is what is fascinating. We actually go on, if we actually jump onto the Binance Smart Chain and have a look at this particular one, we can actually find out that the top wallet is actually a dead wallet, which to me means that it is #burned. Sorry, that was cringe. Yeah, so owner / creator contains less than 5% of the liquidity, so that's also another one as well. So yeah, so those are things to take into account, and this also has a thing, which this is a pretty recent addition from what I've seen, and also people can comment. I guess I haven't really seen any comments on here, but there's possibly one. So it says, warning, the above tokens were flagged due to evidence of bug, hack, or scam. So, and these are similar token contracts to this one here. So that's quite interesting. So maybe you guys might recognize some names on here: Mini XRP, Doge, Zillax, Winter Moon, Blue Moon, B Moon. So yeah, you guys might recognize some names from there. So this one here, I actually just discovered this today, and I thought that this was heckin' cool, man. So this is called Moon Arch or Moon Arc. I'm gonna say Moon Arch because it's got an H. But this is really cool from what I've seen. I've never used this before myself, but we have a look at the Ether V2 contract, and what it says here. So it shows us the burn, which, remember, that was the 30%, right? So isn't it interesting how Token Sniffer and BSC Check didn't actually go and list it on theirs? I think that's super fascinating. Actually, no, it did list it on here. It says tokens burn was 30%. So yeah, so isn't that interesting? So that's why it's good to have more than one thing or link open to be able to identify this sort of thing, right? And so it says unlocked, so 61% is unlocked, and it says 7.25% liquidity, which I believe would sort of make sense. Now, one thing which is interesting here is that they do have a few other sort of details, which for those of you who may be interested in maybe building on certain networks or protocols or things on the actual blockchains, then this could be helpful to be able to actually look at some of these little bits of jazz. They also show the Telegram, and then so they have other things regarding bogged finance. You can have a look at Poo Coin, which is one which we're going to be looking at in transactions and contract. You can have a look at other things as well. So it also says the token age, which is cool. That's really awesome. Talks about the max supply. One thing which I have trouble with, and this is kind of a bit of a buggy thing for me, is I haven't found anything which shows us the amount of tokens which are currently in circulation of anything. So we kind of have to, try to do the math ourselves. So it says non-burnt supply. I'm assuming that's probably the current circulation. We can possibly have a brief look at the actual contract. And so it might tell us on here, but we will have a look. So we'll take that back. Sorry, we were looking in the wrong spot. So, so this is pretty much just the straight contract, which is a 0x6d3 and so on and so forth. Yeah. So when we have a look at something like this, we can see what their total supply is. But remember from what we actually checked before, that this could be changed / can be changed. So I mean, maybe they could even possibly decrease it if they wanted to. Yeah. So in terms of some of these jazz and bits of things, one thing to avoid when it comes to these scans, by the way, try to avoid these comments here. I mean, sometimes they might have something good, like a beautiful comment like "scam," don't buy or what have you. But yeah, otherwise for most of it, actually, I'm just gonna quickly have a look at that. Try the link, wasn't very helpful. You had to pay for something. Cool. So yeah. So you could do that if you wanted to, but try not to be pulled in by these guys. Learn how to make huge profits in 10x's in like 1 week. Yeah. So anyway, yeah. So it's unfortunate that we can't see the current total circulation, but sometimes CoinMarketCap does actually. So for instance, that said show circulating supply market cap. Sorry. Okay, gotcha. So it doesn't actually show the amount of tokens which are in current circulation, which kind of bugs me a little bit. So that's what this is possibly good to be using for. So I'm assuming that this is currently the total circulation, which is awesome. If you guys do want to use this as a tool. Another good one is Poo Coin. So you can go on a Poo Coin, and then as soon as you sort of jump on here, just go and copy a token address into this section here. And then if we jump back here, so they also have a few other cool links on the side as well, and you can also use this to, show the indicators and stuff. You can go save and load, which I think would be cool, maybe especially if you had an account. I feel like I'm probably going to do something like that on here because I think that'll be quite helpful. So you can see the holders and other things which they have, which are quite interesting. So they have a dev wallet checker, which is quite fascinating. Now, I believe that this is not actually one of, so this is not one of the main / top wallets when it comes to the actual exchange itself. So it's 0x7BD. So if we go back to BSC check, and so I can't see anything which is 0x7BD on here. Oh, sorry, it's right there. Yeah, so that's only 0.13%, which I mean, that's pretty small. It doesn't really concern me too much. But yeah, so another thing which they actually do have as well is that you can have a look at top holders on the actual Poo Coin itself, and then this is, I believe, one of their sort of special rug checkers. Where we can have a look at some of these deets here, which I think this is really awesome. And for anybody who's maybe a beginner or looking at this to begin with, and then so you can find out whether or not things are actually contract addresses or if they are wallets. So this one right here, so I'm going to show you guys this one here, and this is actually quite fascinating to look at. So just to give you an idea, so this currently says that it has a balance of like 309 million, right? And then so this is the dead token address. But notice that it doesn't actually have the little contract logo, which it does mention here. If the top holder of LP is a contract address, one that has this icon, the LP has likely been locked. And so if you have a look here, so it calls it a contract on here, whereas it's not actually a contract, but there's possibly some sort of inner workings like going underneath that, which we do not know. So yeah, but then you have a look at things like the pancake swap, so you can see that is actually more locked liquidity, or this address, which I don't know what that's used for, but it's probably used for something. So yeah, so just to give you guys an idea of maybe how to read some of those things. So you can also track wallet, never seen that before. Yeah, okay, so you can sort of, gosh, I don't quite know what that is, but anyway, so yeah, so we can have a look at the wallet. We can see the transfer count. So this is one thing which we generally, you would probably have to open the actual wallet to actually see it on BSC scan, for instance, is that you can have a look at the transfer count. So we can see that there is actually a contract there in the wallet. So this is something, this is as I say, this is probably something which is good for beginners to definitely sort of ask themselves about regarding all of this sort of jazz, to, you know, see if they may actually be sort of worth it within that regards. Usually this does load by now and has like a whole bunch of things. Like it's like a long list of, you know, like the transactions which have gone in and out of the wallet. So we can probably come back to that. But one more thing is Scam Sniper. I just decided to quit out of that other thing, by the way, because it was bugging me. So Scam Sniper, so you just hop onto it. So you go onto the website, it checks your browser, to, you know, go and see if you're gonna try like DDoS it or whatever. And then so they can also show audits as well, which is awesome. So, you know, the same thing with the rest of it. You just go and copy and paste the address inside there. So one thing which they have here, so I haven't actually used this. I also found out about this today as well. So I'm not exactly completely sure how it's properly going to work. So first scan 2 months ago, cool. But as we have seen from here, the actual token age was 4 months. And so it says honeypot check is okay. And then so they talk about the buy and the sell tax in case you're interested to hear about that. But it says sufficient liquidity on packets what would be to with BNB trading periods required, otherwise it may show a false positive. So liquidity checks, so it says that the liquidity is fine, and this is quite cool because it does actually say how much is in the BNB pool, which is 332,000, but keep in mind it also shows it on here as well under the Poo Coin, sorry, under the Poo Coin charts, where it says that it has 705 BNB, and this one says also 705 BNB, but they also show like different prices, so 332 and 256, which is quite big of a difference. But anyway, we will ignore that. But another thing is that they actually show the audits. So they say that this has been audited by TechRate, and they also show some of the other contract scanners. So this one, bsccheck.eu, we've already had a look at that. Staysafe.org, I mean, I'm not going to look at that. I did look at it earlier, and it didn't really tell me anything, which we couldn't find already from the other things as well. So yeah, so I think that's quite cool. So we can actually read and have a look at some of the details when it actually comes to the audit, and we can sort of find out some of those little bits of jazz there. So anyway, guys, I think that's pretty much, yeah, that's pretty much my video. Thank you very much for watching. Glad that you made it until the end. As I say, if you like the video, please consider liking and subscribing. That'd be awesome, and especially joining the Patreon, because you can look at getting early access to, you know, these delicious vids. Yeah, and then yeah, and if you want to leave a comment, then that'd be great. Please make it constructive if you so wish. Yeah, hope to see you in my future videos. Fairly well.